Charles B. Wang, an entrepreneur and dealmaker who built a multi-billion-dollar software business and became a majority owner of the New York Islanders, died on Sunday at his home in Oyster Bay, New York. He was 74. The cause was lung cancer, said John McEntee, a lawyer representing Mr. Wang and his family. Mr. Wang, pronounced Wong, was a controversial figure in the software industry. He was a Chinese immigrant who built a successful company. But he also became a symbol of lavish executive pay and was embroiled in an accounting scandal, though he was never formally charged. By the end of the 1990s, Computer Associates, which Mr. Wang co-founded and led, was the world's third largest software maker, trailing only Microsoft and IBM in sales. Yet the business, focusing on behind-the-scenes software programs, was not widely known outside the industry. Many of the programs manage digital operations in corporate computer centers. Mr. Wang, the chairman and chief executive, was fond of calling Computer Associates the biggest software company nobody ever heard of. Computer Associates, founded in 1976, was an agglomeration of some 200 acquisitions, a testimony to Mr. Wang's deal-making fervor. He often looked for older companies with valuable rosters of customers and a business that seemed ripe for an overhaul. He would then fire executives and staff members while sharply cutting costs. In March 2000, Mr. Wang appeared on the cover of Business Week magazine, under the headline "Software's Tough Guy." The magazine called his management style harsh but effective, delivering hefty profit margins. The workers who remained were treated well. The company's headquarters in Islandia, on Long Island, included a child care center and other amenities. Fortune magazine included Computer Associates on its list of the best companies to work for in America. The corporate generosity started at the top, as Mr. Wang was one of the nation's highest-paid executives. In 1998, he received a $670 million stock grant. Criticism and scrutiny followed, eventually prompting a long-running federal investigation into the company's accounting practices. Mr. Wang stepped aside as chief executive in 2000, handing the job to his hand-picked successor, Sanjay Kumar. In 2002, Mr. Kumar replaced Mr. Wang as chairman as well. In 2004, after a 4-year investigation that focused on backdated contracts and whether they artificially inflated profits, Computer Associates reached an agreement with the Justice Department to avoid prosecution, which included paying $225 million in restitution to shareholders. In 2006, Mr. Kumar was sentenced to 12 years in prison for orchestrating a $2.2 billion accounting fraud, mainly in 1999 and 2000. Mr. Wang was never charged with wrongdoing in the case. But a year later, a 390-page report by the Computer Associates Board, assisted by an outside law firm, found Mr. Wang culpable as well. No significant decisions were made without his participation and approval, the report said. Mr. Wang dismissed the report as fallacious. By then, Computer Associates had replaced its senior management team and most of its board members. The business had shrunk by 40% from 2000 to 2006. The company, which later changed its name to CA Technologies, would never be a high flyer again. But new managers streamlined and stabilized the old business, and moved into new fields like software tools for Internet-style computing. This year, Broadcom, a big chipmaker, bought CA Technologies for nearly $19 billion. Charles B. Wang was born on August 19, 1944, in Shanghai. When he was 8, his family moved to New York, where his father, a former judge in pre-revolutionary China, taught international law at St. John's University, and his mother, Mary, studied and worked as a librarian. Mr. Wang is survived by his mother, 2 brothers, Anthony and Francis, his wife, Nancy Lee, and 3 children, Kimberly Day, with his first wife, Ingrid S. Wang, and Jasmine and Cameron, with Miss Lee. He is also survived by 3 grandchildren. Mr. Wang graduated from Brooklyn Technical High School and then Queens College, majoring in math and physics. After graduation, he answered a help-wanted ad for a computer programmer at Columbia University. Mr. Wang had never used a computer, but he talked his way into the job, taught himself to code and had a knack for it. After a series of programming and sales jobs, Mr. Wang and a few colleagues founded Computer Associates International. Mr. Wang's philanthropy included founding Smile Train, which provides cleft palate surgeries free to children in developing countries. He also programmed to develop ice hockey in China. Mr. Wang contributed to various organizations in his adopted home of Long Island, including Stony Brook University, where a $25 million Asian American center bears his name. Local loyalty, more than a sports passion, seemed to have led to his participation in the National Hockey League. Mr. Wang's favorite sport was basketball, and he had attended only one pro hockey game when he was sought out in 2000 to become a major investor in the New York Highlanders. At the time, the team was struggling, both financially and on the rink. But Mr. Wang was won over and he became the majority owner from 2001 to 2016. He then scaled back to a minority stake. While in control, he unsuccessfully sought to have a new arena built in Uniondale, New York, but eventually moved the team to Barclays Center in Brooklyn. In the end, his wish came true. The Islanders are moving back to the island, to the newly built Belmont Park Arena, expected to open in 2021. They will play at the Nassau Coliseum, their old home, for part of the next 3 seasons. As a non-expert, Mr. Wang had some unconventional suggestions, like trying out sumo wrestlers for goalies. He assumed nobody could put a goal past a sumo wrestler. Mike Milbury, a former general manager of the Islanders, told the New York Times. Still, his enthusiasm was not in doubt. Mr. Wang, Mr. Milbury said, desperately wanted to keep the team on the island.